Shalom. Welcome to our Erev Sukkot talk called The Joy of God in the Face of Man. This talk is based on a little paragraph from Rabbi Nachman in Likutei Etzot in the portion of the three festivals. This teaching is tricky because, when you start to join man and God together, people get confused about the identity of both. Where does God begin? Where does man begin? If God is in man, if he's in our hearts, even in our minds, when is he taking over the show? And when is man wrestling to get the steering wheel back? These are big questions in spiritual work and for all of humanity really to experience a relationship with the Creator and not lose our humble identity, shall we say. There's a phrase in the 90th chapter of Tehillim, it says, Tefillah Lamoshe Ish Elohim. So the Midrash comments on that phrase, Ish Elohim, man of God. Sometimes the Midrash says, when Moses appeared before Pharaoh and he said, let my people go, it was Elohim. Moshe was Elohim. When Moshe ran away from Pharaoh because he was afraid of his decree after he killed the Mitzri, the Egyptian, which was much earlier in his career, 40 years earlier, then he's called Ish, a man. And so on and so forth. When God called Moses to the burning bush, he was a man. When he went to save the people, he was Elohim. And so the relationship is back and forth. And this is something we need to understand very deeply. And we're going to talk about this throughout the Chag, really, because the human being is, sometimes we're human and sometimes we're a little better. Okay, we're not going to talk about the other side of the equation, because it's the Chag, it's the festival, it's a time of great abundance of knowledge, of awareness, of spiritual purity and love and joy. And so we see that, we know that when Moses was before God at the receiving of the Torah, and he met him at Har Chorev, and Moses said, show me your face, that I can tell the people. And God said, Lo yireni adam v'chai, a person can't see God. You can't see God's face and live, because the minute you see his face, you're absorbed into him. You're no longer you. And you can get to the point of attachment to that face that you're never going to come back to you, which is another word for called death, right? But we're talking about attaching to life at the highest level. So when we say a man can't see God and live face to face, but we know panim v'panim Hashem Elokechem, that God, face to face, God met you at Har Sinai, at the mountain of Sinai, which happens to be, by the way, down in northwestern Saudi Arabia, and you can check that out. And the Mekubalim in my yeshiva in Nar Shalom in Jerusalem have corroborated that. It's a known thing amongst the people who have actually taken a look. And so there is this level, panim b'panim, panim b'panim. There's a level where God's face enters your face. And then you can lose it. And then he can come back. And so there's this relationship, this running and returning between the higher level and the lower level, between Elohim and between Ish, a man or God. And Moses is the ultimate example of that, because he did it more than anybody, going into Hashem and back out to the people and back into Hashem and back out to the people. Every time he got a prophecy, in the book of Moses is very many prophecies over there. He's going in and out before God. And he's changing garments between his lower self-garment and his upper self-garment. And so what we have to do as little people who we're not really quite Moses, we have to get used to the running and returning. As Rabbi Nachman says, we need to be expert in that by being expert in knowing ourselves and knowing halacha, the going close and the coming away. And when you do that, you don't get too excited when you're feeling like really close to Hashem, and you don't get too sad when you feel far. Because you know it's a roller coaster. It's an up and a down. No, it doesn't have to be a roller coaster. It can be a gentle, ride along the waves on a breezy afternoon. But still, this pattern is something that gets people in trouble a lot, because they get used to being close to God for a while, and then they fall and they can't bear it. Or people that are so far from Hashem, they can't ever get up and go back and do it again, and get up and learn and pray and ask God to make us closer to Him. Because that's what He wants us to do. And when you ask God what He wants, well, He's not going to answer you. Of course He's going to answer you, because you're asking Him for what He wants. You see how it works? So Rabbi Nachman tells us, Ayidei Simcha b'shlosh regalim, through the joy of these festivals, Sukkot, Zochim l'or hapanim, you merit to the light of the face. Now, whose light is that? Whose battery pack is shining? Through the joy of the festival. Or hapanim. Now, in Kabbalah, or hapanim has a whole long teaching about the structure of the divine worlds, and how the light of the face actually is an extraction from the light of the mind. The highest places in the Keter, it's called, the crown in the tree of life. The crown emits light down into the face. So joy, you have to understand, joy comes from comprehension of the higher realms. It's not this feeling of being happy in the heart because I get what I want. That is a fallen level of joy. The higher joy is the comprehension, the apprehension of the divine in the everyday. And he tells us how. You give life to your holy intellect. See, you have this everyday intellect that we go around in every day. That teaches us how to get up and make a coffee and get in the car and go to work. And that's our lower intellect that we've trained to get through our lives with. But when we have this light of the face, it gives the intellect power to activate the higher intellect, which he calls the Seichel HaKedusha, and then you can come to godly comprehension, that you can see the oneness in things behind the veil, behind the curtain that separates us, so to speak. But that curtain's important. Remember why? Because we still got to be here. I got to be Avraham, and all of you have to be who you are, and yet all of us have that spark of beyond. And the essential joy, mina mitzvah. The mitzvah itself is the essential joy. Now you say, well, life has many joys. My grandkids just showed up. It's Erev Chag. We're busy, right? That's joyous to see the grandkids happy. It's joyous to see my kids happy, right? But that type of joy is still not the joy of a mitzvah. Because the mitzvah is, I'm actually unifying my will with the higher will. And when your will and the higher will join, it's like opening up a channel that before wasn't opened. And so opening that channel depends on uniting our will with His will through each and every mitzvah, which is an established channel of His will. And then this essential joy of the mitzvot is in the heart, because it goes from the mind to the heart. See, the higher soul is always here, and it's transmitting from the upper realms down into our conscious selves. And so when the conscious self perceives God, then it releases itself in the heart. Everyone according to their heart's ability to estimate it. Everybody has a different apprehension of the godliness and the oneness. God's greatness, and His unity. And God's unification with His name, that is His reputation. See, a person, his reputation, they seem like two things, right? Because there's you, and then there's reputation that precedes you out in the world. People, they know Avraham Shira as that, or as this, or they know you as this or that. At work, they know you as one person. At home, they know you as another. At the club, they know you as, right? So that's reputation, but when we're talking about Hashem, reputation it's the idea that you carry in your mind of what is God. Because you can think God is mean and nasty old man, and that's who He's going to be to you. And if you think He's a loving, kind Father, that's who He's going to be to you. So we get to choose our relationship. Now, there are times and places during the yearly Jewish calendar where we say, no, God is upset. It's Tisha B'Av. And there's times that God is very happy. And God is bringing us into Jerusalem to the festival, to the Mikdash, to the services that glorify the presence of Hashem in this world. And it is very fitting to be very happy with each mitzvah that a person does, that we merit. See, doing God's will, we think it's something I'm doing, and so, I'm getting like good points in heaven. Well, but that's like a child looking for a higher report card. But really what we want is that we understand that actually if I did a good deed, it was a gift to me to do it. Understand that it's not I did something good. That's the external package of the deal. The real deal is that God said, I'm going to let Avraham do this good deed. The ancient unified one, Anitzchi, who is eternal, Yitbarach Shemo, and blessed is his name, Lenetzach, forever. The essential aspect, listen to this, is an amazing idea, that all the mitzvot that we do all year long, they all come together. So all the times you've had joy during the year, all that joy comes together in a direct channel, a flow, into the festival. So if I've had a lot of different joyous moments in doing mitzvot during the year, they all come together now, and they gather in the sukkah. Now, if I haven't had a lot of joy during the year, then maybe I'll feel lack. And you know what? It's a gift to feel the lack too. Because that means I'm in place of truth with myself. If I feel lack, I have to feel the lack. Maybe I wasn't so happy this year. Maybe I didn't have that much joy. Okay. But I can work on that. I can build from the truth. But if I'm faking Simcha, that's a real problem. I remember 35 years ago when I first went to some neighborhoods around town, and I saw religious people, and I wasn't even religious yet. And I was very interested, and I was exploring. I saw people didn't look so happy. And I said to somebody, people, you guys have the Torah, you have the access to Hashem, you have the prayers, you have the meditations, you have the Kabbalah, you have everything. But I don't see the happiness. If I'm going to join up to this team, I want happy players, right? And they said, no, it's a hidden joy. And I said, okay, I'm not going to argue about the hidden joy, because there is hidden joy. But here we're talking about the joy that's on your face. Because when the joy is so great that it shines through your mind, into your face, into the world, then that's what other people need. Because if you see a happy person, you notice it's harder to be unhappy. A happy person, that's why comedians get the world to come. That's what the Talmud teaches us, that the two people in the marketplace that get the world to come, they told Eliyahu Navi and Yeshua ben Levi that it's those guys, the comedians. Because when you make people laugh, you reconnect them to their higher spark. But it has to be the right kind of joke, right? We're not talking about all the jokes in Las Vegas. Now, this Simcha of Yom Tov, ki az mitkabetz nitorer simcha kedusha, and on Yom Tov, all those sparks of the year's joy come together into a great power of joy. And he calls them here, shel nekudot tovot shel kol mitzvot, the good points. See, you can do a mitzvah and it's not so perfect. Okay, I didn't have the most kavanah when I prayed this morning. I didn't have all the things right in the prayer. Okay. But there are good points within the mitzvot that I really wanted to do it right. Maybe my Hebrew is not so good. Maybe I'm new to the game. Maybe it's hard for me to open the book. Whatever it is, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the good points that you bring. And the easiest good point is the will itself, to want to do it good. Okay? Because we know perfection is not by us, right? Perfection is what created us. But we're an expression of that in a slightly broken form sometimes. Now, this is a very important idea. We have to empower ourselves to draw joy to us. He calls it Lamshich al atzmo simcha kedosha. In other words, my friends, when people tell you, I'm not happy, and you say, well, Rabbi Nachman says you have to work hard to be happy. Or Rabbi Nachman says we have to draw joy to us. That means joy is this quality that we have a relationship with itself. And I can choose to be happy. Or I can choose not to be happy, or I can choose not to try, or I can choose to wait for the joy. But it is a quality, it is an equality that's created before we were created. Because all the traits of our personalities were created in the collective called Adam Kadmon, the first man, and Adam Rishon, which was the first human expression of that. All the qualities and traits are in that paradigm. And then we have access to choose them. I want to be joyous now, I can be joyous. I want to be kind, I can be kind. I want to be strong and say no, I can do that too. So we have choice to be happy. And if we make the choice, you'll see that it'll trickle down. It'll come right into your heart, and suddenly you will be happy. But if I allow myself to wait for joy to come, that's a long train coming, I don't want to wait for joy. I want to find out why I'm not happy now. Look at myself, look at my relationships, look at what I've done today, why, maybe I'm not so happy, maybe I slept too late, maybe I said something I shouldn't have said. Those are the things that kind of take away the water in the well of our joy. But when I know and I examine it and I find the place, then I can say, okay, I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing, or, I should have gotten up early, whatever the thing is that we need to do. Because there's always ways we can tweak it, make our service a little better. But once I do that self-examination, then I can go back to the joy. So it's a process that we have to learn. It takes time. But once you do it, you see that it works. You're like, whoa, this is what I've been looking for. Because, whether you're smart or not so smart, whether you're pious or not so pious, everybody wants joy. Because when you have joy, nothing bothers you. Nothing ruins your parade when you have the joy. And the joy is God looks down and says, look, they're joyous. Samer b'chagecha. When we're joyous on the festival, we're fulfilling why he gave us the festival. Why he's going to the trouble of calling us all to Jerusalem, to be together, to dance together and sing, and do all the different services of the festival. To bring the four minim in the sukkah, right? Tomorrow morning we're going to bring the four minim together. These are four worlds, four traits, four qualities, four levels, and the four corners of the globe, the four directions. So, it's not just four different types of plants that we're tying together into a bundle. Because once we decide that that's a mitzvah, and we understand God commanded it in the Torah exactly, and I say, this is my etrog, right? Once you decide that that's your etrog for the Hag, it becomes holy. Just like when you take money and say, this is charity for so-and-so, that money becomes something else. It carries the spiritual power of your choice. And that's what we have to give ourselves the power, to understand our choice carries power, just like God's choice. And we decide something special, we make it special. And we live that specialness. And when you live that specialness, then you say, wow, maybe there's something to this idea of Ish Elohim. This idea that a Jew is part God and part man when we're on a good day, right? But so when we work towards that, slowly but surely, then we suddenly get used to the ebb and the flow, the tide of holiness, that some days we feel up, some days we feel down, and we know how to work ourselves. We know how to do what we need to do to make ourselves happy when we're happy. And when we're happy, we need to put on the brakes sometimes and let other people talk and let other people share and not run the show and be the only guy at the carnival just because we're happy, because we want to share the happiness. We want to reach out to other people. And the light is on your face. And when you smile, I laugh because I'm happy with what I do. I'm happy with these choices. I'm happy that I'm here after all these years. Here I am in Eretz Yisrael on Sukkot, and God gave us this equipment to talk to each other all over the world together, and to learn this awesome Torah together, and to be together in mind and spirit. Because even though you're thousands of miles away, if our mind and heart are in the same place, we're in the same elevator going up to Hashem. So God bless you all. Have a wonderful Chag, and we'll see you during the days of the festival. And I'll try to teach midday. Sometimes midday gets a little later during the festival, all of Chag Sukkot. And there's some wonderful ideas coming down from these great teachers that Hashem gave us. So Chag Sameach. Have a wonderful time. Take joy in each mitzvah, and your face is going to shine. God bless you all. Chag Sameach.